What's up guys, my name's Brian, the owner of Engine Customs and Performance. Today I'm going to show you how to do an oil change on a Fiat 124 Spider Abarth. Let's get started. Alright, so the oil we're going to be using today is a Castrol Edge full synthetic 5W40. Now these come in single quart jugs as well as a 5-quart jug. We're going to be using 4 out of the 5 quarts. We're also going to be replacing the oil filter with a Wix oil filter, which comes with the filter itself, as well as the O-ring that seals the cap to the oil filter housing. So let's go over the tools you're going to need to get the job done. Check it out. You're going to need a pick or a small flathead, a socket wrench with a couple extensions, a 13mm wrench, a 7 or 8mm socket depending on what intake you have, a 10 and a 12mm socket, and a 27mm socket, and then to make things faster, a small electric impact. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove the oil filter. Now I went ahead and raised the vehicle up in the air, and we're going to start up top. We have to remove a few bolts and then remove the intake to gain access to the oil filter. Okay, first we've got a 10mm bolt here that secures this pipe that goes to the intake. We need to loosen that, so we're going to remove this bolt first. Again, that's a 10mm socket. Now that we have this pipe is now loose, so now we can actually remove it from the intake pipe. And then we'll set that out of the way. Okay, the next step is we have to remove this clamp that secures this intake. Now, this is a Eurocompulsion V2 intake. If you have a stock intake, this clamp is going to take an 8mm socket. But since this is a Eurocompulsion, the socket size is a little bit smaller and it takes a 7mm. So we're going to loosen it. And now we can actually pull this off. I usually just set the clamp aside. And if you got a couple more hoses here, you just need to remove from the intake. And now you can set this, get this last one off, and set it aside. All right, now with the intake out of the way, you can see there is the oil filter cap that we have to remove. And we're gonna be using a 27mm socket with a couple extensions. And we're gonna get it in place here and just loosen. It's always good just to take your time just to break it loose, and then it should unscrew pretty easily. All right. Now I typically like to let this sit for about 5 minutes before I remove it. That way any excess oil can go ahead and drain back into the oil pan. All right, now we can go ahead and remove it. You just kind of have to work it around. Have yourself a little towel to catch any excess oil, and then take it out of the car. Okay, now we need to remove the old filter from the oil filter cap and install the new one. So first we're going to twist and pull, and you'll find the sweet spot where it'll actually come out, like so. You've got these little tabs right here that secure into the cap, and that locks it into place. So now we got that one off. Now we need to remove the old O-ring. Now you can take a small flathead or a pick, just kind of dig in there, and then run it all the way around to remove the old one. And now we're going to go ahead and install the new one. Just wrap it around the cap. All right, once you got it on the cap, make sure you get it all the way down at the bottom, because a common mistake will be people will put that O-ring here. And if you do that, you're losing all your oil really fast. So just make sure the O-ring is all the way at the bottom. And then you can actually take a little bit of that old oil off that filter and just kind of run it along the O-ring just to give it a little bit of lubrication for when you seal it back to the housing. So now we're going to take our new filter. Again, you got all those tabs here. We're going to place it into the cap and we're going to twist until you feel it drop down and then move it. Because when I turn this over, it shouldn't come out. If it comes out, then that means it's not secure. So now it's time to put this back into the car. All right, now we're going to go ahead and put this one back in. Just kind of work it in there. It'll pretty much fall into place. And then what I recommend is to screw it on as much as you can with your hands, and then you'll tighten it afterwards with the 27mm socket. All right, now we're going to tighten it up. And you want to make sure it's all the way tight, and you'll know because you will not be able to move it anymore. But once that happens, you don't want to try and force it anymore because you'll break the cap. All right, right now I feel that unless I really push hard, it's not going anywhere else. So it is 100% tight and ready to go. All right, now it's time to reinstall the intake. Don't forget your clamp. So what I do first is I just position it, go ahead and slide it onto the turbo. And now we can go ahead and reconnect all of our hoses and then this pipe. There's that. We got this one here. And then this last one. All right, once you get all of them on, now you can go ahead and tighten that clamp back. All right, and we're going to tighten down this clamp. Again, 7mm if you have the Euro compulsion intake, and 8mm if you have a stock. All right, and then we need to secure this pipe back down. Just start the bolt with your fingers. And then tighten it down with a 10mm socket. Okay, before we go down below to drain the oil, go ahead and remove the oil cap to relieve pressure. And now let's head below. All right, now that we're down below, we need to remove this metal splash shield here. And you can see you have a total of 9 bolts to be removed, and they take a 12mm socket. All right, set that aside. All right, now you're going to see here's the oil pan and here is the drain plug. And we want to make sure that you've got a pan underneath to catch the oil. You're going to take a 13mm wrench to break it loose. All right, once you break it loose with the wrench, you can just turn it with your fingers and be prepared because the oil's going to come out. All right, once the oil is drained, go ahead and reinstall the drain plug. Screw it in as much as you can with your fingers. Wipe off any excess oil. And then go ahead and tighten it up with a 13mm wrench. Just make sure it's snug. Don't over tighten it, because if you do, it'll be really hard to get it off the next time. All right, now go ahead and reinstall the metal splash guard. Now what I'd recommend is put all the bolts in, just screw them in with your fingers before you tighten them down with your 12mm socket. All right, now back up top, go ahead and take a funnel, place it in where the cap goes, and then put in 4 quarts. All right, once you got the 4 quarts in, go ahead and remove the funnel and replace it with the cap. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and start the vehicle, let it run for about 30 seconds so we can check to make sure there aren't any leaks, and then we're gonna check the oil level to make sure the oil's right on point. Okay, now we're gonna remove the oil dipstick. We're gonna wipe it off, wipe it clean. Put it back in there. Now pull it back out and check, and as you can see, it's all the way to the top, which is perfect. All right, final step is we need to reset the maintenance light. How we do that, keep your foot off the brake pedal, press the start button twice, and then press all the way down on the accelerator pedal 3 times within 10 seconds, and then press the stop button to complete the reset. So this concludes the video on how to perform an oil change on a Fiat 124 Spider Abarth. For all your performance modifications and custom accessories for your Fiat or Dodge Dart, make sure to visit our website at ngencustoms.performance.com. And if you want to support the channel, check out our gear. We've got t-shirts, hats, and hoodies all available on the website. And if you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss any future install videos or awesome Abarth content. And until next time, I'm out.